Hello, everyone. Today, I'm really excited to show you the webinar automation we have built into our system. So just a quick presentation on how it works. So this is the process we follow for our own webinars, and I think most people follow it as well. So first thing is, why webinars, right? So when you run a business, I run a capital raising business mainly for multifamily or any kind of business, webinars can serve multiple purposes. One, they can provide value to your customers, right? Usually, webinars attended by your existing customers, it can provide a lot of value for them. It also leads to your brand recognition. So, when you provide more and more value to your customers or new people, your brand gets recognized more. And webinar can be an important tool to generate new leads for your own business. When new people attend, you can capture their email addresses or phone numbers, and then they can become a new leads. You can nurture them, and then ultimately it can lead to more sales. Even during the webinar, you can probably sell some of your products during the webinar, or all these new leads, you nurture them, and then eventually they can convert into sales. So when you think about webinar, the first thing is it can be a single person webinar. You can be the one presenting the webinar. Often it's like you have a guest in the webinar, and most people it's useful to have a regular schedule for the webinar, right? Every week, every 2 weeks, or every month. A lot of time is spent on finding the guest, right? Getting the information, those kinds of things. The first step there is, of course, identifying the appropriate guest for your webinar, mainly having their email address, and then booking them for the date of the webinar. And there should be an automated way of booking these things, because otherwise you can spend a lot of time coordinating which day, which guest is coming on, and sending them reminders, getting their titles, topic, their headshots, those kinds of things. So there can be a way of, this is how we do it. Say we have a webinar booking calendar. Um, and the first thing we do is we send an email invitation to the guest, right? So they can click on the email invitation and pick the date and time that works for them. Because if it is a regular recurring webinar, you have already have a set date and time. Every 2 weeks it happens. So they can pick a date and time that works for them. Often what happens is rarely anyone actually clicks on the link in the first email you send, because people get busy. So it's always useful to have automated reminders sent to them. Okay, first email, second email, right? And then hopefully by the third email they'll click on it and click on the calendar link and choose a date and time that works for them. So they click on the calendar link, they book the appointment. Then we always direct them during the process of booking the date and time. They have to fill in a what you call as a webinar form, where we capture all the information we need from the guest, so that there is no back and forth. I'm going to show you the components of the webinar form in the next slide. The ideal one to use, of course, your use case may vary, and you can include more info or less info, capture more or less info during the webinar form. So they fill in the form. As soon as they fill in the form, you want to give a positive feedback. So you want to send a confirmation email with a date and time, and also SMS. Ideally, there is a text message sent to them saying, "Hey, thanks for booking this. Your webinar is scheduled on such and such date and time." And always make sure you want to remind them, right? So people may book 2 months from now a webinar date, they may forget, and they have to actually prepare for the webinar. So useful to send them a reminder at least a week before, saying, "Hey, your webinar is coming up next week." And also, we usually send a email and SMS alert 24 hours before the webinar date and time, so that they can attend it, and at least 1 hour before, so that they are ready. Another reminder sent 1 hour before, so that they are ready to go on the appropriate time. And then actually the actual day of webinar takes place. Hopefully the guest turns up, the webinar runs successfully. We also want to, after the webinar, we want to send them a thank you email. "Hey, thank you very much for attending the webinar. I hope I enjoyed it very much. I hope we can collaborate in future." Because not only we want the audience to be our sales and customers, we want the webinar guests to be our collaborators. So we want to treat them well, send them a thank you email immediately after the webinar is done. And then when you hopefully you're recording this webinar, editing it, and then putting it somewhere. Once that's done, you can also send that link to the guest who came on the webinar, so that they can view it, they can share it with their own people, etc. So this is just for the guest, how we go about booking the guest and then sending them reminders, and then sending them thank you message, recording those kinds of things. Overall, it can seem very simple, but to accomplish this, it may take a lot of time and effort, either from you or from your VA, sending them reminders, making sure they turn up. And often you may feel like, oh my God, are they going to turn up on time? Am I going to be sitting there with my audience and the guest doesn't turn up? So doing these things make sure the guest turns up and it's a good experience for all of them. So what kind of information do we capture in a webinar form? So these are the recommended ones. Of course, you can add or remove things per your requirements. So we, of course, capture their name, email address, phone number, and then often we can ask them to put a speaker bio so that they put it in. So when you're at the host, you can just read from the bio. So you don't have to research on it. They're already given you something about them. You can just modify it or read from it. Always ask for a headshot at which they can download, upload into your system so that they don't send it to email, then you're going searching for email. There's one place you can deposit all this information. So we have a system where we can go and find everything related to the webinar online. So we don't have to search for it. So upload the image and then of course ask them what the correct title, appropriate title they think the webinar, and also useful to get mainly 3 bullet points from them saying, hey, what is the audience going to learn from this webinar? Bullet point 1, 2, 3. This is very important because when you send out emails to audience, you have to highlight, hey, this is the title, these are things you're going to learn, so that people get excited about it and attend the webinar. So this is what the webinar form we use. It's actually in a calendar booking. So when they select the date and time, the form pops up and they fill the whole thing and then click submit. So now we have booked the guest. So what do we go? How do we go about promoting the webinar, right? So the guest is booked, the date and time are set, the title is set. Now we want audience to come to the webinar. So the first thing we do is for us to create an audience to come. First thing we do is create a thumbnail, like an ad or one-page thumbnail. We usually use Canva, very easy to do, where you say guest, host, title of the webinar, date and time. Those are the important things, right? So it's some theme on the back, some background theme. And usually you have to do it only once. Once you do it, just stick to that same theme. Don't have to have fancy themes every time you have a webinar. If you're a recurrent webinar, have the same theme. Just change the guest and change the title, change the main bullet points, and then you're ready to go. So that saves a lot of time as well. And then you have to create a landing page. Say, how do people find out or register for the webinar, right? So there should be a landing page which has details of the webinar, and it should have a registration form where people put the name, email address, and phone number so that you can capture that as well. And once they click on the registration form submitted, there should be a thank you page thanking them. Hey, thanks for registering for the webinar. These are the details. Look forward to seeing you. That page can also serve as an advertisement for your services, right? You can put something about your company there, or any other kind of value you provide, or your investment club, those kinds of things. You can put in that thank you page so that if people want, they can click on it, learn more about your company. And then say there is also upfront, you can create a page where people go after the webinar to look at a recording. So not everyone who registers may attend the webinar, but they may want to look at the recording. So you create another page where people can go and look at the recording or watch the recording. And also it can also serve as, if people don't register, you can send out another email, another promotion for more people to come back so that you can capture their email address and phone number. So it's always good to have a recording page so we can capture more people that way. So that recording page also needs to have the same registration form as before so that you can capture that information. So these are the things we need to build before we go out and start advertising the webinar, right? So then the webinar is built. You have the thumbnail, you have the landing page. Now, how do you go about promoting it? So there are two types of people you can promote, right? One is you probably already have your CRM, a lot of people in your database. I have like 500 people, 1,000 people. So those are your prime audience. So you have to promote it to them as well, right? So you send an email out to them saying, hey, this is the webinar. This is what you're going to learn. Please register. The other place you want to promote is you want to capture new people. So you want to create some social media post so that you advertise on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever social media you use, saying, hey, this is the webinar. You want to come on this webinar, then you have a link to your page in the social media post. Right? So you can create the social media post, but again, you can automate it. We automate that. We already have a thumbnail, right? So we put the thumbnail in the social media post. and then we automate it so that we click on one button, it goes to like 7 different social media outlets at the same time. So I don't have to log into each one and then upload these things. And then you also want to send reminders to people. It's very rare that first email people register, because they look at it, they forget it, they get busy. Same as social media posts. So we can time it. So the one I recommend is 2 weeks before, send an email or put a social media post. Do the same thing 1 week before the webinar, and then often you'll be surprised, even on the day of webinar, even if you can put again a reminder to social media post or send an email out to your people in the CRM. The one thing you have to remember here is, if someone registers already, especially the people in your CRM, you don't want to keep sending them reminders. They get irritated, right? So you have to put a system in place where you track people in your database who have already registered, remove them from these reminder emails for our information emails, and then put them in a different email sequence, which I will show you in a minute. So you want to have systems in place where you don't bombard them with this reminder email, even though they're already registered for the thing. So you send all these things, email, social media posts, say then people click on that, and then they come to your landing page, and then they fill the registration form, right? Once they fill in the registration form, they give your name, email address, phone number. You immediately want to send a confirmation email, and ideally SMS as well, saying, hey, thanks for registering. This is the details of the webinar. We hope to see you on such and such date and time. After you've done that, you always, for the people, the audience who attend the webinar, always it's a good idea to send a reminder email and SMS at least 24 hours before. So it's on a Wednesday, send them a reminder on Tuesday so that they can plan ahead. And also, I would always send one email 1 hour before saying, hey, the webinar is starting in 1 hour. Get ready. We want to see you. And then 5 minutes before, we say, hey, webinar is on right now. Please log in right now, or click on the link right now. And also send an SMS as well. So these are making sure, because people often forget. They want to attend, they forget. So it's always useful to have all these reminder emails and SMS, right? So hopefully you do this, and then you have multiple people attend. Don't get disappointed if not everyone who registers turns up. It's usually the case. Less than half the people who register usually turn up. Even if that turns up, that's a pretty good number. So I would not be disappointed if people don't turn up, because you're going to record this webinar and then promote it afterwards as well. So hopefully you had a successful webinar. And what happens after the webinar? What do you do, right? First thing is you capture the webinar recording, edit it, put your logo on, make it pretty. And then you actually send it to the people who registered. That's very important. Even though some of them would have attended, some of them would not have attended, they will come in, send an email saying, hey, thank you for registering for this webinar. In case you missed it, hey, here is a recording of the webinar, so that they can click on it. Don't send them to the recording web landing page. Send them directly to the recording, so that, because they're already gone through the thing of registering, we don't want them to give the email address, phone number again. It can be irritating. So they just get direct access to the webinar. And then you can also create snippets of those, chick snippets, and create social media reels, right? To promote the webinar again, recording again. And then these can be linked to, each of these reels can have a call to action where you put the link saying, hey, you want to see the whole webinar, click on there. And people can go into the recording landing page, which you already created. And then again, they fill the registration form, and then they will go and watch the webinar recording after that. And the other group of people who did not register, they're on the database, send them one final email saying, hey, in case you missed the webinar, here is a recording. Because you want, again, they may have become busy, they didn't register, give them a chance to register again and watch the recording. So this is basically you're utilizing your 1 hour webinar recording to the maximum. You reach the maximum number of people by doing that, right? So this is the overall structure we follow. Of course, you can have variations of this, but that's the idea behind the webinar. So what happens, right? So I talked about people fill in the registration form. What do we do with that information? That's name, phone number, etc. First thing is that we tag them, right? So when you have a database, you need to have a tag for each person, multiple tags for each person. So when the contact is tagged saying, hey, this person attended this webinar. So usually we tag them with the webinar title, right? So, but if they're already in the database, that's fine. Then we know they're engaging, they're watching this webinar. That's the important information to have. What if the contact or some person who registered is not in your CRM? We always add another tag to them called new lead. You can call them anything you want, lead, whatever it is. Yeah, and then of course we tag multiple things. If they come from Facebook, they'll say Facebook, um, or whatever social media channel. If they come through that, we can tag them according to that. But the important tag we add for the new people is new lead. Why do we do that? Once we add the new lead tag, they automatically go on to add it to a drip campaign. Drip campaign is a series of emails explaining to them what we do, what our company is about, and it has an aim. So at the end of those series of email, we basically want them to have a good idea of what the company does, and then we want them to convert them into our customers, right? So that's what the whole idea of drip campaign is. So this is you capture new people, you provided value to the old people who are already in the CRM. Ultimately, you want them to have a good experience with you, and you want them to become a customer. If you want to find more about the systems we use, of course, I'll be very happy. You can visit our website. It's called www.agency.com. I'll be very happy to share these slides I have, which you can use for your own system for webinar. And I can also show you the background system we are using. So one thing I wanted to show you is, of course, this seems like a lot of work, right? One webinar, 1 hour. This seems a lot of work. It's in fact not a lot of work. So that's the whole point of this video. So I don't know if you notice, some of these things I had put, some boxes are orange. Okay. So those are the only boxes you have to do every time. Every webinar, you have to do that action. So identify guest, put the email. Everything in black right here, it's automated. You don't have, once you set it up, you don't have to do it again. You don't have to touch it again. So everything can be automated. Same thing here. The thumbnail you have to create every time. Even that I told you can automate to some extent, where you use the same background, everything same, just change the picture of the guest and change the title and important points. Rest of them can be the same every time. It also gives consistency to your audience. So there is very little thing you actually have to. Of course, social media post, again, you can automate the uploading of the post. You can automate saying 2 weeks, 1 week, day of the webinar, the posts go out, but you have to create the basic post. Usually we use the same thumbnail for the webinar as a social media post and put some details about it. And so that you have to do for every webinar. But rest of the every other step I showed you is completely automated. You don't even have to go and edit the emails, because I'll show you how we do it. Of course, webinar recording, editing, that needs to be done for everything. And the Reels for social media is going to be unique for each webinar, but rest of all the steps are completely automated. This is completely automated. You don't have to do anything. So with that, I'm going to actually show you what we actually do. Okay, we have developed our own system. Let me show you an example, live example of how easy it is. Okay, so we have built this form. It's called Webinar Builder Form. It's like an upfront for you to easily input data into it. Once you put all the data in here, everything else is created for you on the background. You don't have to do anything. The emails I talked about, the landing pages I talked about, the tags I talked about, everything is created. You just fill in one page form. I'm just going to demonstrate it real time. So of course, all the data I put in is not going to be accurate, but I'm going to show you what happens here, right? So this is for example, a landing page. It's very incomplete. You can see it's like haphazard and everything. So we're going to update this landing page with the information we going to put in here. So it's very simple. First thing is enter your business name. I'm going to call it Awesome Inc. Whatever name we can put in here, Awesome Inc. And then business logo. I don't have a example or demo logo, so I'm going to put my own company's logo in here. So let's put in here. So I uploaded the logo, business social media link, let's say facebook.com, right? It's a Facebook. I'm going to show you where these links go, right? Of course, if you have your facebook.com / your web page or business page, right now, for simplicity's sake, I'm just putting facebook.com, and then let's say this is instagram.com, and then linkedin.com. You'll put your / whatever your LinkedIn address is here. Right, so that's your company. So you have to, again, even this form, you fill in only once. If the information doesn't change for the next thing, these things are not going to change, right? So once you fill in once, you don't actually, you can leave this blank. You just fill in the things which changes. So for example, webinar title, we actually have a webinar coming week. It's called tax strategies for doctors in real estate. Let's put that title. And then thumbnail, we created a thumbnail for this. So I'm going to pull that one here. So let's find the thumbnail first. Okay, found it. So I just uploaded the thumbnail. And then what is the date, month, day, week, time, those kinds of things. So I'm going to put it's May 17th, 7 p.m. Maybe we need some spacing here. And then this is the most important thing. We have to put it in a specific format so that our software can recognize it and send the emails at the appropriate time. Right? I said 1 week before, 2 weeks before. Everything is scheduled based on the time you put in. So this one, they say 5:77 p.m. So then it will schedule everything. So I'm actually going to, because it's less than 4 days, I'm going to put it as May. Is that 31st of May or 30th? Let's see. 31st, yeah. So let's say it's May 31st. And then here I'm going to convert into May 31st. And then webinar meeting link, say you have a Zoom link. I'm just going to put zoom.com right now, but if you have a Zoom exact link, you can put it there. And then these are 3 bullet points about the webinar. So if you can imagine, your guest would have already filled a form with these bullet points, and the title, you basically copy and paste from whatever the guest has put in for you. Right, I'm going to put 3 bullet points here. Just going to copy, paste. The next one, copy, paste. And then the third one. And then, of course, you can, here we say, hey, something to make everyone excited about the webinar. I'm going to say, hey, don't miss out on this awesome webinar, right? So you want people to get excited. So I'd say, don't miss out on the awesome webinar. And then guest details. This is, you're going to get it from the webinar form I talked about. So here, the guest is going to be Billy Withers or Withers. I'm going to put, and then bio, they would have already given you the bio. So you don't have to do anything. You just cut and paste the bio. And then they would already sent you the headshot. So you can just go and upload the headshot. It's done. Oh, sorry. I actually put it in the name of the host, not the thing. So I'm going to put it in the guest. This bio is about the guest, not the host. I'm going to put it here. And then guest speaker, I'm going to upload again, Billy. And then this is, maybe I'll put my name because I'm going to be the host of the webinar. And then let's see, I can use my standard bio here. And then upload my headshot. Let's see. Okay. That's done. That's it. So this form took very like less than 10 minutes for me to fill. And most of the things you're going to cut and paste from your guests form anyway, info, then you submit it. Right, so now the system is taking all that information and it's building the landing page. First one is the landing page, right? So you basically refresh it, and then ta-da, you have all the things you need, right? So you saw the previous page. Now the whole landing page is built for you just based on the information you put in the form. So now this is fully refreshed. So you can see all the things we put in the webinar form. It's updated here. So the title, the thumbnail, the date and time, and then the 3 main points we want to cover in this webinar. And then we said, hey, don't miss out on this awesome webinar. The registration form is pre-built. And then I put mine as host. So my thing has come here, and then we put a guest, Billy Weathers, his information is here. So it's completely built in. Even these links, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, whatever you put in is built in. And here, if you see, you even have a disclosure of interest. And if you see, our company name is automatically updated here as well. Let me see where that is. So here you see Awesome Inc. That's the one we put as a company name. So it's automatically updated even in the disclosures as well. So our logo I updated. So the logo is updated here. So this is just the first landing page. Not only that, this is the backend system for us. So so there is a thank you page, right? So even the thank you page is updated. I'm going to show you the preview here. See, so once they click on it, it even tells me my name, who registered it. All right. So if Robert registered, it says thank you for registering, Robert. And then it's updated the actual date and time. So that's the thank you page. And there is also a recording page. Again, that's going to get updated as well. So that is, so we talked about the landing page. Just based on the form landing page that gets updated. Not only that, the entire automation I talked about in the sequence, right? They get reminder emails. They get once they register for it, they get all the confirmation emails. All the emails are already updated. So I'll show you here. So it's a webinar workflow. So webinar registration and reminders. So this is the workflow people go through. So once this is when the form is submitted, right? So we add a tag for them, and then confirmation email for the webinar. So if you see here, it's all coded on the back end. So, hey, the first name of the person receiving this, thank you for registering for our webinar. And then the webinar title will come here, whatever is typed here. And then the webinar date and time will come here. And then you can even put the three main bullet points here as well. So everything is coded on the back end. So it's automatically built in. So you don't have to go in and change for every webinar. It's when it goes out, it has the appropriate title, appropriate date and time, appropriate bullet points, the appropriate name of the person, everything is built in. And we built in all the reminders and everything. So even after the webinar is done, we can actually track if they actually attended the webinar or not. If they click on the link in here, the Zoom link, then our system tracks it and then they put in a different sequence. If they didn't click on the link, we know that they didn't attend the webinar. So they get a different sequence of emails and stuff. So that's the automation. We have built in the email, we built in the SMS messages. So everything goes through. We also track this through what you call as an opportunities or pipelines. So it's a webinar registration pipeline. So if they register, they'll come on here. If they attend the webinar, they'll come here. And then if they didn't attend the webinar, they'll come here. So we can actually track how many people registered, how many people actually attended, and how many people didn't show up. Yeah, and we can build other pipelines here as well. So that's the gist of the system. So basically, you put in the initial form, and everything else is built for you completely on the back end. Even the landing page, all the pages can be customized for you. If you don't like that thing, you can change the color, you can change the formatting, everything can be changed. And it's supposed to save you a lot of time when you do these recurrent webinars. I don't know how much time you currently spend on it or your VA spends on it. If they spend like 5 to 10 hours, that's like 50, $100 for each webinar you're spending. So this one, it's basically cut down to like 30 minutes a webinar. So that's how much is you or your VA is going to spend. Also, we have the automated speaker registration system and information capture system. That's also going to save a lot of time and also back and forth emails and frustrations, etc. So if you're interested in learning more about the system, of course, you can contact me, DM me, or email us, or go to our website. You can web chat with us through the website. It's www.redocagency.com. Okay, so I love your feedback. Let me know what you think about the system we have developed. Again, we have a similar system for podcast or anything you do recurrent for your business. We can set up automations for you and make sure it saves time and also capture all the information you need for tracking your leads and making them customers.